Welcome to Honey Street Live.
We're your hosts, Carl and Nicky Smith.
I'm your host today, and I'm going to talk about my journey and experience with type 2 diabetes and some very promising research that is coming out in regards to reversing diabetes naturally through intermittent fasting and a low-carb diet and high natural fats. Please consult your doctor before starting any new treatment. Now, I'm not endorsing this program. I'm merely just giving and sharing my experience and journey with it and getting the message out there. So I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2004 and also with hemochromatosis, which is a condition where I store iron in my body on the organs, predominantly the liver, pancreas and heart. So the treatment in 2004 was diet control, and I managed to keep that at bay for a number of years. And then in 2010, I was put on extra medication. So I was put on metformin, and I wasn't very happy about that at that stage, but the doctor said it was a progressive disease and this is what happens. So fast forward to 2012, and I end up under a diabetic specialist, and another medication, glycoside, is added to the mix. So metformin, glycoside, and really trying to manage things with my diet. My specialist said to me that I would be on insulin sooner rather than later, and that it is a progressive disease, and because of the hemochromatosis I would get to that point of needing insulin injections a lot sooner than someone who didn't have the condition of hemochromatosis. So we're going to fast forward to March 2020, this year, 2020, and I became very unwell. I lost a lot of weight. I 12 kgs without even trying. So I went from 67 kgs down to 55. I was thirsty all the time, going to the bathroom. I couldn't get out of bed. I could barely get up and down the stairs. My energy, I was just exhausted. And I couldn't eat enough to satisfy my hunger, and my nerve pain increased. So I went to the doctor knowing that things weren't going very well, and the test results came back to prove that. So I was severely anemic and B12 deficient. My phosphate levels were out through the roof, so I was severely dehydrated, and my HbA1c sugar control was not controlled at all. In fact, it was out of control. So she started me on weekly B12 injections for 3 weeks, and I'm taking Spartone iron, which is a natural iron liquid, and still on that because my iron levels are taking a lot to bring back up. However, after the 3 weeks of the B12, my levels were back to normal again. And it's quite common with metformin to leach B12 out of the body. So while I'm on metformin, I'll be having regular testing and updates for B12 to see how I'm going in that regard. My bad cholesterol was extremely high, and so the doctor was really concerned and just wanted to start me on injections that day. I refused and said I wasn't happy to go down that path just yet, and asked her if she could give me some time, in which case she said, yes, I'll give you 2 weeks, but you need to come in and have weekly visits and test to just see how things are going, so that if it goes too much further than where I was, then we would have to make that decision. So Easter Carl and I sat down and we researched basically all of Easter and came across a gentleman called Jason Fung. He is a doctor in Canada, and he had a 35-minute video on how to reverse diabetes type 2 naturally with intermittent fasting and a very low carb, high animal fat diet. So we sat down and watched this, and we were blown away. It just made sense, and I've got the links down below for you to have a look in your own time. But what he said just made sense, and I finally sort of felt like I had a little bit of control and had a path going forward that I believe is actually going to reverse my type 2 diabetes. Now, he says that it is reversible, that it is not a progressive disease, and all the way through my dealings with specialists and doctors has been the opposite. So I started testing my sugar levels 6 to 8 times a day and graphing the levels and going about this in a very scientific way so that I could take this data back to my doctor when I saw her weekly, and we could discuss how things were going and what was happening. So at first my readings were fluctuating between, my lowest was a 6.4 and then ranging through to the 20s and early 20s. And there could be a fluctuation of those numbers within an hour of one another. I could be way up by 19 and then be sort of at an 8 an hour later, which was extremely punishing on the body, and I couldn't cope with it. So I went back to the doctor and said to her, look, I've come across this gentleman. He's done research for the last 10 years and he has been having significant results with reversing type 2 diabetes with clients who had actually been diabetic for 15 to 25 years, were on 3 lots of medication and injections, and was able to go through this process, which I'll discuss in a minute, and get these clients off their medication and living a normal life through intermittent fasting and his program. So what we did is my doctor changed out my glycoside and put in Januvia, and I have metformin slow release at night, and that combination is a lot more gentler on my system, so my fluctuations aren't as high. So when I spoke to her about this gentleman, Jason Fung, she said she was aware of this research coming out, but it's not been recognised yet as the latest treatment, and so through Australian laws she's actually governed to treat diabetes in the manner that it is with tablets and insulin. Now, I said to her that I would like to embark on this program and I'd like her support, and she said, well, if this goes off the rails you could sue me. And I said, well, I'll sign a waiver saying that I don't and I won't sue you, and that I want the support of you with me on this journey and making sure that not only scientifically but from a health perspective we're going about this the right way. And she jumped on board and I was absolutely stoked with it. One of the things that I learned from Jason was that every human on the planet has what they call a dawn effect, and in the early morning hours around that 4 o'clock our body naturally produces hormones. One of them is adrenaline, and what that does is it gives us energy to wake up, get out of bed and get the day started. But of course with the release of those hormones it affects your sugars and your sugar rises. And so what I couldn't understand was that I was taking this metformin at night and then it should have lowered my sugars, but first thing in the mornings I was getting 13s to 20s, and I found that really distressing, and didn't know how to go about correcting this. However, I've embarked on this program with Jason with the intermittent fasting and the low, very low carb, no more than 10 to 20 carbs a day, and a high natural animal fat. So what I did over on so Jason talks about the current treatment for diabetes, and that is that we attack the sugar with the medication and the insulin. And what he's saying is that that's actually the symptom, it's not the cause. And the cause is actually the insulin resistance in the pancreas. And so every time you eat, your liver processes the food and your pancreas gives off insulin to break down the sugars so that you've got energy for your day. And what he's saying is that over the course of years, we have become, so his theory on this is that we've become insulin resistant because we're eating numerous times during the day, more often, and we are also overeating, and that is showing clearly in the results worldwide that obesity is on the rise and type 2 diabetes has skyrocketed. So his theory is that we're not allowing our pancreas to drain in between meals. So in the early days, it was 3 meals a day. You didn't have morning and afternoon tea, just good portions of 3 meals a day, and that fasting hours in between. As we've progressed, we're eating sometimes up to 6 to 8 times a day and not allowing the pancreas to drain its reserves of insulin. And so therefore that's what's actually creating the type 2 diabetes. So I researched his protocol and I started on a 7-day fast, and I noticed that my sugars consistently came down and were ranging between the 9s and 11, 12.8, 13.5. Currently is with diet, medication and insulin. Jason is suggesting that through intermittent fasting, we are allowing the pancreas to drain its stores of insulin, and therefore by decreasing the amount of meals that you eat and the time frame in between those meals, you're allowing the body to do what it needs to do. So I embarked on a 7-day fast and I've got the results here. So on the 21st of April, my readings were 11.8 through to 13.5. On the 22nd, 11.8, 12.8. Third day, 11.8, 11.7. Fourth day, 9.8 to 11.8. Fifth day was 8.2 to 11.2. And the sixth day, 7.4 to 10.2. And on the seventh day, 7 through to 11.5. Now, I felt the most well that I've felt in a long time, and what I had to do there is a protocol of what you can and cannot eat or drink on the days that you're fasting. So first, the protocol is that you must drink 2.5 litres of water a day. You can have black tea and coffee, decaf or normal, as meaning up to 6 cups for your coffee and unlimited for your tea. Now you can actually add full cream milk, 2 tablespoons, or 35% fat cream, 2 teaspoons. And there's also, you can have MCT oil, which is coconut oil, and that's like a teaspoon, so that you're getting the fats and you're still getting energy. You can have as much flat water or mineral water and add that with lemon and lime, and that's actually very filling. So when you get the hunger pains, you can actually satisfy yourself with the sparkling water, and it does work. I'm testament to that. The other thing is that you can have bone broth. Now, it was recommended that you make your own, and in the links below there are recipes and all the necessary information that you need. So I was able to find a beautiful organic bone broth in a jar that you put a teaspoon into a cup of hot water and sip that, and that gives you all your lipids and your nutrients and electrolytes so that you don't fade. You're allowed, because if you're on medication, especially metformin, you have to have it with food. So every night on those 7 days of my fast, I was able to take a handful of spinach and kale, fry it, a little piece of bacon and a few sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, and have that with my metformin. So the first night I didn't take enough greens and spent all morning up and down cramping and going to the toilet. So the following night I upped it, and I've had no issues with that since. So because this has been a diagnosis since 2004, Jason says that it's not a quick fix, that it took a long time to get to where you are in your journey with diabetes, and it's going to take weeks, if not months, to turn it around. So I finished my 7-day fast, and now I've gone on to a 42-hour eating intermittent feeding plan, which basically means I never have breakfast, and every second day I will have lunch and dinner, but no snacking before or after those meals, and having a very closely monitored, very low carb diet. And I've got Jason's cooking book with the recipes, and they are delicious and sustaining, and I'm really enjoying my food, even though I'm not eating as many meals as what I'm used to. I've lost more weight, a total of 17 kgs, and while that sounds maybe a little bit excessive, I am for the first time in my normal range for my BMI, and my fat ratio is in normal range too. So I've come down to 51.1, but I can effectively get down to 47 kgs with my height and my bone structure and still be within normal range. But now that I've actually started the intermittent feeding plan and actually eating 2 meals every second day, I've noticed that my weight has actually stabilised, and I'm feeling good. One of the side effects, obviously, is that my clothes don't fit me anymore, which now I have to go out and buy some more clothes. So I'm sort of excited about that. And I know I feel the best that I've felt in numerous years. So it's very early days for me on this journey, and I am recording everything scientifically. So what I will do is pop in with you every so often and give you an update and let you know how I'm going. Check out all the links below, the cookbooks and the protocols, and certainly that 35-minute video was a real eye-opener, and it wasn't just for obesity and diabetes. It was actually for treating every autoimmune condition that is out there. So well worth a read and investigating for yourself. And thanks for watching, and I will clock in with you soon. Cheers. Bye.